hosting the third of our 5 webinars for the Pathways Innovation Network sites in New York and in Pennsylvania. And I'm very pleased to be able to bring our next presenter to the series. One of the things that we've talked about with all of the sites is the importance of communication with all of our various stakeholder groups. And Christy is someone I've known. I think some of you know that I've been working on business education partnerships for several years. And I was introduced to Christy maybe 7 or 8 years ago when I was publishing a newsletter on the topic. And she has written several articles for me. I mean, I've always found her to be interesting, engaging, and her articles in the newsletter were always the most popular and the most requested. And I think that she just brings tremendous insight and information on the subject of community engagement and messaging in particular. And I'll just share a few things about her background. I mean, she has been in education for a number of years. I mean, she has worked within a school district in Ohio and also served as a board member of the Education Foundation there. She has worked with nonprofit organizations in the arts and in other areas, focused, among other things, on building meaningful and purposeful relationships with the communities. And part of that, again, is the messaging piece. And so I'm very, very happy to have her with us today. And with that, I'd like to introduce Christy Farnbauch and let her take it from here.
Great. Thank you, Brett. Thank you for those kind words and that lovely introduction. It's hard to believe 7 or 8 years have flown by. So thank you for that. Hello, everyone. I'm really pleased to be with you today from Columbus, Ohio, where there's just a glimmer of sun, and it's a balmy about 35 degrees today, which is better than I think the rest of us have been around the country. So I am just going to click here to show you my screen. Oh, my GoToMeeting unexpectedly quit. I'm going to reopen it. Hey, Kathy, I know you're muted, but I have gotten booted off.
Okay, I'm back here. I'm here. Would you like me to? I have your slides. Would you like me to put them up?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, let me just hold on. I just can't.
You know what, though? I have to join the webinar again.
Okay.
I don't even see your screen.
Hold on. I think I'm going to ask Brett in just a minute what he sees, but let me just get.
Okay, it looks like the intro slide from Citrix, the NC3T logo at the top, and then pin webinar communication, and then the 4 photos at the bottom.
Okay, I'm about to pull up Christy's screen, or Christy's slides.
As soon as I clicked show my screen, Kathy, it went away.
And apologies to our attendees. I think we've all been through technical glitches before, so I hope you'll be patient with us for a few minutes.
I'm almost ready. Let me see now if I can let me just make sure everybody can see my screen because I do have Christy's. Sorry, everybody, we're getting there.
Okay, I'm seeing somebody's screen. Strategic links at the top?
Yes, and Christy,
yeah,
are you?
Yeah, I can see that, Kathy. That's from your machine.
Right. Okay. So just say next when you want me to move forward, and I'll do that.
Yeah, just go to the next one. And then actually heard all that about me. Thank you again, Brett, for that wonderful introduction. And here we go. So here's our intentions today. Now that we've got technology rolling, I really have 3 goals for you. This is one of my favorite topics, talking about how we engage audiences and think strategically in our community. And I'll tell you a little story. I always like for nonprofits to support other causes in their community. And just yesterday in my community, there was a house fire, and our local school bus, they sent a school bus out to the site to keep the firemen warm as a place for shelter while they were fighting the fire. And I thought, what a great example to be a community partner and engage on a different way. And I'm sure the next time the schools need something, those firefighters will think favorably of us. So just a quick story that just happened yesterday. So related to that, we're going to identify and prioritize some target audiences, and there'll be a place here in a minute for you to respond to me in the chat window, and we can look at some of your audiences. I will outline some practical strategies that will help you for engaging them, and my goal is always to help you start tomorrow. Is there just a few little things you could do tomorrow to get you started on this path? All right, next, Kathy. So let's talk about identifying these audiences. Who is it? Who is it that we want to engage? And this is where they're in your chat window in your GoToWebinar control panel. If you type in a couple of audiences that you think you've got to work on, I have some examples, but I'd really like to hear from you. So who are they? Who is it that you need to convince and communicate with about what you're doing for the college and career readiness piece? And what do they value? So what are those audiences you're talking about? And I'll just use myself for an example. And I happen to be the mom of a high school junior, so I've been through this once with my older son and getting him prepared to think about his pathway and what comes next. So if I'm your audience, if I'm the mom or the parent you need to reach, who do I value? So what do I value about my son's education and about his future, right? Well, I want him to be successful. I want him to have options. I want him to get a job and be gainfully employed. So there you can begin to think about the things that people like me value, and it's really important to think about them. All this work we're going to do in the next little bit is really not about you, it's about them, it's about the audiences and people that you're working to engage. Next, Kathy. And then here are 3 more questions for you to think about. What do you want them to know and do? So what do you want me as a mom of a high school junior to know about your program, and what do you want me to do? What's my call to action? How will you tell me? How are you going to tell me this? Will you do webinars? Will you do newsletters? Will you post on Facebook? A brochure? Will things go out through the guidance office? Where, how are you going to tell me? And then by when will you tell me? So there at the bottom of that slide is just a little, I hope, practical little grid, a little, set that up in Word or Excel and begin to brainstorm your audiences. Who it is that you want to engage? What do they value? What do you want them to know and do? How are you going to tell them? When are you going to tell them? And then what are the results? What's working and what's not working? If you're doing a lot of social media, you probably want to be checking those analytics and see who's reading. Are you getting click-throughs? Are they coming to your website? Are they showing up at your meetings? Those kinds of things. And then the things that don't appear to be working, when you collect that data, if it doesn't work, then stop doing it. That would be my advice. I sometimes think we need a stop doing list to go with our to-do list, and what are those things that we can stop doing because it doesn't work. All right, so there's your first practical little tip there is a grid for your audiences. I've not seen any other examples of audiences, but as I was thinking about this workshop and talking with Kathy and Brett, you may be needing to connect with high school administrators, certainly parents. We talked about school board members, perhaps, businesses in your community, the students
and Christy,
themselves.
Christy,
Yeah?
if I could jump in for just a second. It looks like people are typing their comments in the question area, not the chat area. So you might want to look in the question area.
Well, yeah, I don't see anything in there either. I guess maybe I can't see that, Kathy.
Okay.
Would you like me to?
Okay, well,
go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell me what you got.
I'm going to read them off.
Local businesses, parents, a couple of local businesses.
Great, absolutely. So let's think about that for a minute. Think about those businesses in your community. And that was my job, actually, when I worked for Hilliard Schools here in Ohio, I was a liaison between the school district and the business community. So what is it that they're interested in and what do they value? And one of the things for sure is a competent and employable workforce, right? In some fields, as you all know, we're facing a shortage of workers, some of the trades and some of those areas. So thinking about what they value and then how you position the work that you're doing to speak to their values. And that'll lead into our next slide, actually, Kathy, I think. Yep. So this is my friend Ben Cameron at the Doris Duke Foundation, and Ben said a few years ago that creating value begins with speaking to where your audience is listening from, right? So again, when you're working with those businesses, what's top of mind? What are their concerns, and how can you help them address their needs and their concerns and their things that keep them up at night with your programming and what you're doing for students and thinking about the long-term implications on the workforce. So again, I just feel this piece is really critical, that it's really about the value for the audience, not so much the value for you, the program. All right, next, Kathy. So we're going to walk through kind of a 6-point framework, and I believe you have a handout that I sent ahead of time. Kathy sent that out with the webinar invitation. If you don't have it now, you can certainly go back after the webinar and look at it. But I like handouts and tools, and so we'll just really kind of walk down through the 6 points of the success framework for crafting your message. And the first S is for story. And you hear a lot about stories and writing stories, and you know, neuroscience tells us that humans are really wired for stories. It's the way our brains work. It gets us connected emotionally and with our brains as well. So think about as you're selling your work and talking about your work, think about placing that in the framework of a story. And you can even think about if we had a little more time, or if I was with you in person, I'd walk you through how to create a story. You know, think about who are the characters and what are the attributes of those characters and what's the situation, right? So it's Johnny, who is a high school junior. He needs to get X number of credits, and he's looking at going into you know, some particular field. Or right, you can begin to craft the story and give him a name, real or not. Give that character in your story a real name and begin to help people engage that way. Stories are really the way that we make sense and navigate a lot of information. You all know that we hear however, I think they say now 3,000 marketing messages a day or something like that. And so stories are just a really simple way to help you kind of cut through the clutter. So that's our first S in the framework. Next slide. The second S is simple, keeping it simple, right? So what's the core of what it is that you do? You got to kind of weed out the superfluous or tangential elements. I do this myself in my writing. I want to tell everybody everything. And the reality is there's so much coming at us that we can't process all the information, so we need to prioritize what it is we want them to know. What are the 2 or 3 things that you want somebody to get out of your message? I actually was just working the other day on what's called a message map, and so you create the key, you know, the key message, which for you folks is probably something around college and career pathways. And then, and then what are the 3 things, the 3 big ideas that you want to fall under that key message, right? And kind of limit that. You see this tactic, this simple tactic, even in titles of magazine articles, right? 5 simple ways to do this or that, or 3 simple ways to think about this problem, that sort of thing. And so start to think about that, but get really clear about the key idea and what you want people to learn and remember. And on your handout, if you have it in front of you, there under simple, you'll sort of see it's really kind of 1 short sentence, 3 to 5, maybe 7 words. What's the single most important nugget, right? If I didn't remember anything else from what you've told me, what's the one simple thing, right? For me today, my one simple thing is I want you to remember that crafting your message into a story is a really key technique, and these are just all parts of that. All right, next slide. And I'll give you some examples of that, of organizations who do this. So this is the Y, the YMCA, and I think if, at least here in Ohio, if you go to their website, you'd see these 3 tenets: youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility, right? The 3 things they stand for. Very simple, very clear, and pretty hard to argue with. I mean, that's the other part of this is the value in what you're offering, and getting to what I often say is the unarguable value. I'm not sure that's a real word, I made it up, but about you know, what are those bedrock the bedrock value of what you do and why it's so key. And here in the why, you can see those are things that are pretty hard to argue with, right? For all of you, it probably has something to do, I'm just guessing, with student success, or an educated citizenry, or an engaged workforce. There's nuggets in what you're all doing that those businesses and those parents in your community are like, oh yeah, that's right, that's exactly what we need, right? We can't argue with that. So that's one example. Next slide is another example from Donors Choose. I don't know if you all know about Donors Choose, but it's a website where teachers can go on and post projects and programs if they're looking for money. It's been around, gosh, I don't know, 10 years maybe. I love their site. It's a good site to just go around and poke around a little bit the way they do it. They've updated it since this slide, but for a while this was what you got under how it works. You give, we deliver, kids learn, right? Very simple, 3 key points. All right, next. We'll come back to Donors Choose in a minute because they have so many good examples. I'll give you another example of their work. Now, the curse of knowledge, and this is really why what we've been talking about getting simple in our messages is so hard, because we know so much. You all know so much about education and about teaching and learning and about students. And you'll see there, my guy on the right-hand side, right, his brain is full of black and white things. And the fact that the guy on the left wants to give him a red ball is just probably more than he can take, right? Our brains are full. And it's hard to imagine not knowing what you know, right? It's hard to imagine not knowing. Like, I know in education we have so much jargon and acronyms, and the average person doesn't know all that. The really best example of a story I've ever heard about this is one of our school board members here is a telephone linesman for a telephone company. He's done it for 35 years. And he said to me one day, he said, I can't remember how to tell a new trainee of being a guy who climbs those poles how to do it. He said, I've been doing it so just remotely and as a part of who I am for 35 years, I can't tell him how to break it down. And we have to be able to break it down, right? It's really imperative that we get over this curse of knowledge and trying to tell everybody everything that we know and just get down to the key facts and how people act on it. Next is unexpected. And so again, following this is number 2 on your handout, you want to get their attention or their surprise, right? You want people to kind of lean in. There's one woman I know who talks about the eyebrow test. If you want to watch people's eyebrows, and if they raise up, kind of means they're interested. And you kind of think about that, right? When your brows are knitted, you're kind of questioning and maybe not so sure. But if you can get somebody to raise their eyebrow, then you might have surprised them or caught them in an unexpected way. So you want to think about your message, help us pay attention, think about what you're saying. Are there some uncommon sense things? I'll show you an example here in a minute of some uncommon statistics or some things you might use. You really want to create gaps in my thinking, right? I'm the guy on the right. My brain is full of those black and white thoughts. And you want to introduce something new. So you need to kind of pique my curiosity, right? When I was, we tend to tell people facts. We just love to tell people facts. And most people really don't care so much about all the facts. I can tell you when I used to work on bond and levy campaigns for my local school district, when you would tell people when you were on the ballot trying to pass a levy that 70% of the households in our community did not have children in school, people sat up and paid attention. Because in my community, we have 15,000 kids in the school district. It seems like everybody has a kid. And in fact, only 30% of them do. So we had a whole audience out there that did not know what it was like to be in school every day. And so that one little, yes, it's a fact, but it's kind of a surprising or unexpected fact that got people's attention. So the next slide. Again, here's an example of just a couple that I've picked out recently, right? And this one probably relates to your work. It's predicted by 2018 there'll be 1.4 million computing jobs in this country, but currently only enough graduates for 400,000, right? So that stat makes me pause. It makes me stop for a minute and think, like, holy cow, what are we gonna do about that, right? Next clip, Kathy. Here's another one from the movie Waiting for Superman. Approximately 7,000 children drop out of school every day, right? Those are some very tangible, concrete facts that are unexpected that make people say, wow, what are we going to do about that, right? How can I help is what you hope they say. All right, next. So I'm gonna take a pause here and let you type or raise your hand. Kathy can do it a number of ways, I know. If you have questions to this point, does this make sense? Something you'd like me to respond to?
At this time, I'm not seeing any questions, but let's see if I have any hands up. I do not think so. Okay, nothing at this time.
All right. Well, get ready. There'll be another opportunity here in about 5 minutes. You can you can ask questions again.
Great.
All right. Let's go on then down through your form. Concrete. I like this image of a concrete block because we all know what that is, right? There's no mistaking what that is. Concrete is kind of something that you can examine with your senses, right? It's very clear. Concrete language is really something we've got to use. I like, one of the quotes I like is, abstraction is the luxury of the expert, right? So again, we all know this education lingo. We all know about college and career pathways. But you're working with people that this is probably new. This is new terminology. So how can you make that clear? It might be in the images that you use. When you think about a pathway, you might show them a yellow brick road. I don't know. But think about the images that you use. Think about universal language. So just basic language, short sentences, right? I've heard it said that we feel like we can get through a piece that we're reading faster if the sentences are shorter, right? So no need to impress people with your $25 words when a $5 word will be just fine and get your point across. And you want to create shared turf, right? You don't want to shut people out if they think, well, I have no idea what they're talking about, and then they just start to kind of shut down and not listen to your message. So there again on your handout, under concrete, help people understand, right, and remember, and kind of help put things in their frame of reference. Next slide. So this is an example of how you do this. This is an annual report, and I don't know if you all write annual reports, but many nonprofits do. And they're often pretty boring, and they're full of numbers, and no one reads them. And I love this annual report because this is done by Friends of the Children. They hire professional mentors to work with at-risk kids. And this was, I want to say, from 2008 or 9, right, 2008. So they were actually a little ahead of the curve. They did their final report through the eyes of Jeff Williams, this young man here on the left. And they tell you that he's doing better than forecasted. He's overcome some pretty serious obstacles in his life, right? So this is the first page of the annual report. Next, Kathy. This is the next page, or 2 or 3 pages back, right? So you get what they want you to know here is the progress they're making toward graduation or GED equivalency. But they're still telling the story through Jeff and his mentor. That's his mentor there in that picture, right? So excelling at football, he's excelling in the classroom, he's making new friends, and it's all because of his work with James, his mentor, right? So again, really not many words on that page, right? Pretty simple and to the point, but tells a powerful story in what is typically an otherwise sort of boring document. Next. This is an example of, I do some work in the arts as well as education, and this is an example from the Port Theatre up in Canada, actually, where they take stories, testimonials from people they've worked with, and put them right on their website. So as you all, I know you're kind of new in this process, but as you get up and rolling and you're creating web pages and whatnot, you might want to think about testimonials from kids that you serve. So, tell students stories, like, and again, very brief, right? One short paragraph. The picture brings it home and makes it concrete. I can see what Susie looks like. I can see who I'm supporting. Next. And this is an example of how you carry concreteness on over into raising money. I don't know if you all will have to raise money, but a lot of the organizations I work with do have to do fundraising. This is College Now Greater Cleveland. It's a college readiness program up in Cleveland. I worked with a couple summers ago. They've carried this idea of concrete through to their donation page on their website. So you can see that they're serving 20,000 students, helping them and some adult learners. And then there for each amount of money, this is what I'm investing in, right? So $100 enables a child to take the ACT or the ACT test, right? If I give $500, that'll be leveraged into $60,000, right? And I can tell you, as someone who contributes to a whole bunch, variety of causes, I have given more money when I have seen this kind of list. Like maybe I was going to give 25, but for 30, 30 will clothe a child for 2 days or whatever it is, right? I'm going to, okay, I'll chip in an extra $5, right? Easy. So this is where the principle of concreteness comes into play when you're thinking about raising money, okay? Maybe in your sponsorships. There may be a time when you need sponsorships from those businesses, and this is a way that they'd be really clear. I work with a guy here in our community, a business guy, and he just wants straight up, tell me how much you need and what do you need it for. He's busy, he doesn't have time for all the other superfluous stuff, but this is the way I could communicate with him. All right, next. Great. The next principle, number 4, by my count, is credible. So we have to be credible, right? And we know in our own personal lives, trust is so important, and being authentic and following kind of core values and core beliefs. And so we really have to be credible, right? People trust recommendations of people they know and like. So you might think about, in your community, who else could help you tell your message? Who else could tell your story? Maybe it's a well-respected juvenile judge in town, or maybe it's a long-tenured, beloved, retired teacher. I mean, who else besides you and your community can help you tell the story and be credible and authentic and provide some additional compelling, vivid details for your work, right? This is where statistics come in, and we all have data. We have mountains of data, don't we, in education? We just have more data than we know what to do with. And this is where you can use some of it. But Chip and Dan Heath, who wrote a book called Made to Stick, which this is sort of based upon, have said that we need to use statistics as inputs, not outputs. And so I agree with that. I would encourage you to, set about your program and get clear about the impact you're going to make, and then find the statistics and the data to support it, rather than the other way around. We can sort of find stats, just turn on the TV. You can find stats to prove anything you want, really. But if you do it the other way, you'll be more credible and people pay attention a little bit more. So credibility is really key in all of this. And on your handout, there's some guiding questions there, so that when the webinar is over and you're back at your desk and you think, now, what did she say about that? There's some guiding questions there about creating details and using statistics to help you be more credible. All right, next. And again, this is another example from Donors Choose. This is their newly redesigned page. Again, simple. There's that simple message, right? Teachers ask, you choose. Very simple. When it comes to credibility, the reason I like this example is there's Stephen Colbert and Oprah Winfrey endorsing them right on their front page, right up front. And you can't get much better than that, right? You know what happens when Oprah touches something. So right there, right up front. You can also see a new feature they've added there from Facebook. Those are people I'm connected to on Facebook who also like Donors Choose. So you begin to build some consensus, right? And as humans, we tend to, we look at people who read consumer reports, we look at reviews, we get on Yelp and see who's eating at the latest restaurant. And so this is a way to begin to connect through social media. And I say, oh, there's my friend Jen, and she's a good person and she's connected to Donors Choose, so maybe I will too, right, to do whatever. They want me to give money, but whatever you want them to do. Next. Here's an example from a school foundation here in Ohio, and I liked the way, actually this is in Indiana, I take that back, Tippecanoe County is in Indiana. I like how they came up with just these 3 credible stats, right? In last year's contributions, they directly supported 74 teachers, engaged 7,900 kids, and put $31,000 in the classroom, right? So simple. There's a lot of things in it, right? There's credibility, there's simplicity, several things, concreteness, all right there, and that one little thing from their homepage. Next. And this is another education foundation, again in Indiana, where I don't know if you all are familiar with GuideStar, but GuideStar is where all the 990, the nonprofit tax returns are housed, and it's public information, and they have a program you can go through and be certified, kind of a good housekeeping seal, if you will, the Guide Star seal, that you're a partner to trust. And so this Education Foundation went through that process, has that seal, and has it right on their homepage, right? So if I were looking to give money, that would help me feel better about them. They've kind of been endorsed and whatnot. You can do this when you're older, you know, when you're celebrating an anniversary, a 5-year, a 10-year, a 20-year anniversary. A little banner on your website is a way to add credibility, and, like, you know, you've been around a long time and you stood the test of time, and you're doing good work. So there are some simple ways you can do that on your own. Next. Oh, a question break. All right, time for you to type or raise your hand.
I'm monitoring, not seeing anything yet. I think everyone is really engaged in what you're saying. I'm not seeing any questions at this time, though.
All right. That's great. I just always, you know, it's you want to get time on webinars for a little feedback, so we'll get some at the end, hopefully. All right. So the last part here, the last part of the E in the success framework is emotional. And I like my little sad guy here, right? So we're really emotional beings. It's often said that we humans make decisions with our hearts and we justify them with our minds, and I think that's pretty true. So what is it about your message that's emotional and that will get me to act? You really want to inspire people to act. How do you help them make associations with things they already care about, right? What is it that you already sort of care about that they can get connected to? You would hope that they care about kids, especially parents, right? You would hope businesses in your community would care about kids. You would hope the school administrators are caring about kids, right? Although I will tell you, several years ago in a school campaign, it was a very heated campaign, a levy that failed 3 times before it passed. And I was doing a public forum, and there was a mother who stood up and said, "I'm not voting for that levy, and I don't care how many children suffer." And I was really taken back by that a mom would say that. So you kind of got to know your audience. That's where it gets back to what do they value, and you hope they value students and learning and the kind of messages that you're putting out there. But you got to know that. And you want to help people kind of visualize a new reality. So here's a little tip you might try. So you're all kind of new and you're getting started and off the ground with your new initiatives, and you might think about this, what I call the imagine strategy. So you might start a letter or a flyer with imagine ... and then put 3 to 5, no more than 5. 3 is even really the best, bullet points about what your work will create in the community, right? How will the district be different? How will the students be different? What will change as a result of your work? And sort of really in 3, not more than 1 line, bullet points, link to that imagine idea. So help them see how things will be different by supporting the work that you do. Okay. Little quick, easy tip. Next. So here's an example, again, another Education Foundation. This is on their homepage with this clearly it's who they're supporting, right? Here's a little girl with finger paints. It's very emotional. She's awfully cute, and we can all relate to finger painting, right? We can, hopefully, maybe some of us remember how fun it was to finger paint. So again, it's a kind of a universal, fun picture that hopefully is engaging to people. Next. And this is an area, agency on aging. So this is one of their clients, obviously, who they have this quote and this picture from. And again, it's a pretty emotional piece. And you can do this in a variety of ways. You can do it through photographs. You can do it through video. There's any number of ways you might hit on this emotional piece, right? Testimonials, children speaking in their own words, all those kinds of things. Little short. You're working with schools, right? A lot of schools now have video programs, so think about maybe students creating short little videos in their own words. I'm actually on the board of the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education, and we've just launched a video contest. We want people to send in videos about their arts experience in schools. And the reality is, we're going to give away, a tablet and a TV, but hopefully we're going to get some really good content that we can use on our website to talk about the value of arts to children. I mean, that's really the end goal, right? But kids love doing that. They love creating videos and creating that content. Next. So here's the framework all in one slide that matches your handout. So Kathy, there's some clicks. So if you just want to kind of click through, I'll talk as you go. So you get your core and compact idea, right? And you figure out what is unexpected about it. What will make somebody sit up straighter, lean in, and pay attention, all right? And then when you work on the concrete language, concrete images, concrete information, it helps me understand and remember it, right? I've told you a whole lot of stories and examples, and it's because clearly when I learned it, it made an impact on me and I could remember it. So you want people to understand and remember. Next is if it's a credible core and compact message, you hope people will agree and believe with you. Like, yeah, I can get behind that. That makes sense to me. We need that for kids, that sort of thing. If the message is core and compact and emotional, it helps me care, right? It helps me care about the pictures of that young girl and their finger paints that I saw, or the woman who needs the services for aging, right? And then lastly is that story piece, which helps me be able to act on it. So it's really that call to action. How can I get involved and how can I help? And then if you can put all that together, and I am not suggesting that you need to do all 6 of these. It's kind of hard to do all 6 actually. But the more of the 6 you get, and the next clip, Kathy, shows us that the more of the 6 you get helps you implement an idea or create change. So the more of these that you can work in, and it'll take some practice. I've been working this way and teaching this way for the last 5 years. Really started to actually explore this work when I worked in the school district, and now I can't think any other way. But as you guys practice and play with it, you'll figure out your own way to get as many of the 6 in your messages as you can. And again, I would say start small. Just take baby steps and try something and see if it works and see what response you get. Right? Kind of pay attention, little changes that you make, and don't try to do it all at once. I know we're all crazy busy and there's lots coming at us, so just take baby steps and you'll get there. The next slide, Kathy, is a video, which you can't play, I don't think. Did you link it?
I can't play it.
I don't think you can play it, but I'll tell you where to go look at this. Here's maybe your little homework assignment. This is a video from the Harmony Project. It's 3 minutes long. If you Google Harmony Project social innovation, I think you'll get it. It's my favorite example. I'm sorry that we can't watch it today, darn technology. It's my favorite example of how Margaret Martin, who's the director of the Harmony Project in New York, which is an after-school arts program for at-risk kids, crafts a story that in 3 minutes will have you smiling and crying and ready to give her money. If you go online, there's many more you can see. There's the Social Innovation Pitch Contest out in California every year. Nonprofits get 3 minutes to pitch their idea, basically to venture capitalists who they ask to give them money. Margaret didn't win. She came in second place, I think, and got $5,000 or something like that. But it's the best example of really kind of all the 6 pieces we've talked about. So do yourself a favor over lunch tomorrow. Take 3 minutes and go out there and watch Margaret tell that story. And it'll just show you how really in a short amount of time, 3 minutes, you can craft your message. And I know you have the tools, so you can all do that.
Christy, could you
Yeah.
could you just say one more time, we have a question, what exactly did you say to Google?
It's Harmony Project.
Harmony Project.
I think it's the Social Innovation Cast Pitch is the program that this came from.
Okay.
I know it's on YouTube. If you search in YouTube, probably just put in Harmony Project, it'll come up.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think, Kathy, if I could send you the video and have you put it on Basecamp or something.
Sure,
along with
yeah.
the slides. I told Brett that he's welcome to post these slides for all of you so that you'll have them and you can refer back to them. Same with the handout. If you all want to post that and use it multiple times, that's totally fine. with me. So, Kathy, let's work on that. See if I can maybe get you the video
Okay.
to post. Again, I'm sorry, it was all queued up and ready
It happens.
until I got booted off of the system. All right, and then there's just a couple more slides, and then hopefully we'll have a little Q&A, and we'll get you on with the rest of your day. So these were my questions for processing, Margaret. Right. So look at the strategies she uses for engaging those people who might give her money, and think about which ones might work for you. Next. So here's my last. This is my sort of funny ending to the presentation, and people seem to like this when I do it live. So to kind of drive this point home, Gain laundry detergent. I don't know if any of you are users of Procter & Gamble's laundry detergent. Procter & Gamble's here in Ohio and Cincinnati. And I actually know a woman who worked on this campaign for them about 4 or 5 years ago. They launched this Sniff Sniff Hooray campaign around Gain laundry detergent. And the idea was that if you bought a new bottle of laundry detergent, you were to open the lid and smell the scent and then send in a story, a video, a testimonial, or something about your experience with that laundry detergent. And in my head, I thought, you have got to be kidding me. Really? People are really going to do this? So this is an early screenshot there, and if you look on the left-hand side, you can see 339,790 people had done that the day I took the screenshot. I think it's about 2010, right? And I thought, are you crazy? See, and you can see they have a poll around this. They've created a whole community called Gainiacs, people who use this product and continue to send them stories. They let them pick new scents. They send them advance coupons. They invite them to parties. I mean, it's become quite a little cult following. And Kathy, if you go forward to my next slide, I took this one just a couple of months ago from their Facebook page, and you can see they're now up to 1.3 million likes and 18,000 people talking about Gain laundry detergent. And you can still go out there and find, as you can see there on the bar, photos and videos and information about this this community of Gainiacs. So I submit to you that if people will tell you a story about Gain laundry detergent, they will tell you stories and be engaged with the really important and wonderful work that you all are doing on behalf of students in your communities and your state. So with that, I think you can go one more click. Kathy, there's just some questions to think about. Would love to have you put this in the chat window or the question window, or raise your hand, or Kathy will unmute you. We can have a dialogue here for a little while. I think we have, what, 5 minutes or so before Brett wraps up. But what information or ideas have you learned today that you might use tomorrow, or questions that you have, or points you'd like to make? It's your chance to jump in here.
And thank you, Leon, for the link to the YouTube video. I did send that out. I think everyone should see that. I'll also put it in the email.
Oh, lovely. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, Leon said, you're welcome. Leon said, be a storyteller. I agree. That is the way to get to me, Christy. I agreed. You had me from the start of this when you started with storytelling. Any other questions?
You all have them. You all have lots of stories in your community. I know you do. Here's a tip. I'll give you another little tip. If you know about Evernote, evernote.com, it's an online system where you can take notes and clip things off the internet and such. I've begun to use that as a story bank, and so create yourself an account. It's free, up to some point you might want to pay, but it's free. And you can put in stories and tag keywords and information, and then you've got it electronically, right? Yeah, because the problem is some of your stories are probably on thank you notes or in a drawer somewhere. And if you can get them digitized and on Evernote, then you've got a bank for whoever you're talking to.
Hey guys, this is Brett. I've got an idea. Since I've got the link from Leon, if you want to switch the screen to me, I can try to play the video from here. I'm not sure if that'll work or not, but I've got it up.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, let's see if this works. I'm not sure if the video will stream or not.
Hardcore LA gangbangers walk through a street market on a Sunday morning. Tattoos, shaved heads, oversized clothing. They stopped in front of a tiny kid playing Brahms on a tiny violin. After 5 or 6 minutes, without saying a word to one another, I watched those gang members pull out their own money and lay it gently in the little kid's case. I was at UCLA at the time earning a doctorate in public health, focused on what it takes to make a healthy community. Those gang members led me to research linking early sustained music education with improvements in math, language, cognition, brain development, and behavior, the basis for Harmony Project. My name is Margaret Martin, founder of Harmony Project, a nonprofit organization keeping at-risk kids safe in school and out of trouble through year-round after-school music lessons and the development of neighborhood youth orchestras on Saturdays. Our students work closely with professional musician mentors a minimum of 5 hours a week and commit to hours of weekly practice at home. The process builds discipline, persistence, self-esteem, and accountability, and changes a child's whole life. Harmony Project is unique. We commit to our students for their entire childhood, from early elementary school through high school graduation. Dropout rates for disadvantaged students exceed 50% in LA schools, but we require Harmony Project students to remain enrolled in school. The LA Times reports the city spends $200,000 on each high school dropout. Harmony Project costs about $1,200 per student per year. We had 36 students in 2001. Today, 750. More than 300 students fill our waiting lists. We've built 6 full-time youth orchestras. One recently performed at the Hollywood Bowl with the LA Phil's new music director, Gustavo Dudamel. We have a staff of 7, 50 excellent music teachers, and a budget of $1.2 million. Donations from individuals and foundations fuel our growth. Great partners provide partial funding and use of facilities and include LA City College, the LA Philharmonic, LA Unified School District, and the Mayor's Gang Reduction and Youth Development Office. Efforts are underway in both San Jose and Boston to replicate our model, and last week, in a White House ceremony, I received the Coming Up Taller Award from Michelle Obama. It's the highest honor in the country for an arts-based youth program. The budget crisis has hit our school and community college partnerships while demand continues to increase. In fact, Harmony Project students now make up more than 30% of the music department enrollment at LA City College and earn college credit for participating in our youth orchestras. We need to raise $300,000 in increments of any size to maintain our school and community college-based programs. We also need the experience and vision of new board members and sponsors. Help us use the joy and discipline of music to transform kids' lives throughout Los Angeles, California, and the country. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brett. So you can see in Margaret's presentation, right, she hits the facts. There's some factoids in there, her statistics, right? She appears to be credible and knowledgeable, right? People often tell me they're shocked in the beginning because they're sure that tiny violin player is going to get hurt on the streets of LA, right? So they're really surprised by the opening of that story. But she just sort of weaves it all together. I don't know what kind of training she had in her storytelling, but she sure hits the mark on the head. And again, if you have some time, there are other pitches out there that are really, really good. I should probably try to find an education example too. So what else? Other questions, ideas?
I do not see any hands up. Please type your questions in if you have any. Comments on what you're currently doing, or while we've got Christy here with her expertise, direction that you may need for your next step.
Great. I will say I'm happy to respond by email. You all have my contact information. So if you start to work on something and you just want to run it by somebody or run it by me, I'm happy to do that to help you get started.
I think, is your next slide your contact information?
It is.
Okay, let me
Yep.
go to that one. There we go. Okay, I do have a comment. It's not a question, but a comment. The strategies outlined in your presentation will be very helpful to our group moving forward. Thank you. And that's from Cheryl. Thanks, Cheryl.
Yes, thank you, Sarah.
And from Wanda, what message can we use to help motivate participation from schools and or businesses who say they are too busy and understaffed?
Think about, of course, I want to know more about all of you now, right? You're going to start asking me questions, and I want to know more. Think about what it is you're asking them to do. So how can you start small and engage them? Or could you invite them out maybe to, 30 minutes to come? So, and I also think kind of, respecting their time, knowing that that's part of valuing. What do they value and what's important to them, right? I know you're really busy, but I think this 30 minutes will be really important, blah, 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 who else, back to the idea of who else might talk to them besides you, right? So sometimes, and I know in our community, the businesses are hit up from every side of, right, the PTOs and the boosters and the athletics and the band and the choir, and they're hit up a lot. And so is there a way to kind of coordinate your messages with others? I don't know, because I need to know more about your messages. If you want to unmute yourself and talk to me about that, I'd love to.
Let me unmute. Wanda, did you have anything to flesh out your question for Christy? I've unmuted you, Wanda, but I don't know if I know you're on a computer, not a phone, so I'm not sure if you have a microphone. Nope, she's good. She said you answered her question. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thanks, Wanda.
Oh, and she doesn't have a microphone.
Yeah, I understand. I don't have one on my desktop either. So bite size. I just say bite-size requests, right? Just knowing that they're busy, and I will tell you and you all probably know this, when the recession hit and everything tanked in 08 and 09. I mean, I had businesses say to me, "We'd love to help you, but we can't. We need all hands on deck. I need all my associates at their desks doing their work," because they had laid off and lost so many employees. And we just had to, for a little while, say, "Okay, we understand, right? How could we? Is there anything we can do to help you?" And we understand, and we'll be back when you have a little more time, right? So it wasn't that they didn't want to help and they didn't want to volunteer; they just couldn't afford to do it in those really serious financial times. Hopefully, things are getting better. We would hope.
Any other questions or comments for Christy? Not seeing anything at this time.
Well, again, you have my email.
There's actually something.
Website,
There's actually a comment in the chat box. It says, "Great presentation. On the contrasting side, what kind of messages about education change do you think fall flat? Any examples?"
I actually saw that one just as you started to read that. I went, "Oh, there's one in the chat window." I don't want to say generically. I think it depends on your community. I think we in education often get sort of in trouble for picking up the flavor of the month, right? We all know that. Oh, it's something new now, right? Another change effort. There were certainly, in my instance, in our particular community, there were certainly messages around our levy work that fell flat. One of the ones we talked about how crowded the schools were, And of the 70% that didn't have kids in school, they had no reference for that. That didn't mean anything to them. Didn't matter, right? So can you figure out if people have what do they think, right? What's the reference point for them, and what they think about education, what they think about career readiness, what they think about the 21st century skill piece. I think you kind of have to know where they're coming from.
If you'd like to be unmuted, just please raise your hand if you'd like to voice your question instead of type it. I don't see anything else. Did I miss anything? Right? I think Brett is muted.
Okay. Well, if there's not, I'll turn it over to Brett and let you end. And thank you all again so much for spending a little time with me. And I just wish you all the good luck in the important work that you're doing. Keep up the fight.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chrissy. I think that was an excellent presentation. And one of the things that we're doing with the PIN sites is we're working through the process of change management. And if you look at what John Cotter from Harvard says about change management, he says most of the failures in change management occur because of a lack of communication. Mm-hmm. That most organizations should be communicating by a factor of 10 more than they're communicating now. But just as important as the effort to communicate is what you say, it's the messaging. And so I think that what you've laid out here today is critically important as we go forward and try to share with communities, with business partners, and with internal audiences like teachers, what it is that we're trying to do and why they should be interested and get on board. So I'm just very grateful that you were able to join us and share your expertise. So I hope everyone got as much out of this as I did.
Thank you again. And I love Cotter's work, so I'm happy to hear you're using his work. Good stuff.
Good. All right. Well, I think, again, I appreciate everyone attending today, and I think we'll go ahead and close it out. Thank you all so much.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Christy. Bye-bye.